Okay guys, tingin muna sa screen for a while. So I'm going to show you how to import backgrounds from Photoshop to Harmony. Okay, so as you can see here, I have here a background. So done in Photoshop, tapos I intend to use this in Harmony. So usually kasi ganun ang workflow sa mga 2D animation or sa mga shows that I worked with, most of our backgrounds were done in Photoshop. Tapos saka lang namin inilalagay sa Harmony kasi basically Photoshop is good in digital painting, di ba? So perfect siya for digital painting. And kung gusto nating stylized yung maging background natin, mas magandang gawin siya sa Photoshop and then just simply import it to Harmony afterwards. Okay. So usually, with backgrounds like this, we always want to separate the elements. As much as possible, when you have a background, we don't want to import it as a flat image. Bakit? Kasi, for layering. So for example, you have a foreground element and you want that to overlap with your character. Diba? Or let's say you have a background element and you want to have a sort of parallax or multiplane effect. Right? Kaya as much as possible, when you have this kind of background, i-layer natin. Okay, so in layering, tanggalin ko lang. Buksan ko lang yung mga folders ko. Yan. So, in layering your elements in your background, you have to make sure to flatten each element. So basically, all of the adjustment layers that you do, or all of the mask or clipping mask that you use, kailangan naka-flat siya. So kumbaga, separate images na siya bago siya ilagay sa Harmony. Next thing that you need to do, you have to properly name your layers. So as you can see here, meron akong layer 17. This is the cloud. So rename ko lang siya. There you go. So I have the foreground, the midground, I have the stone, I have, what's this? Trees. And I have the sky. Ayan siya. So luckily, we don't have to export it as a PNG before importing sa Harmony kasi pwede na siyang direkta. Okay, save natin. Save nyo lang. Then let's go to Harmony. So in Harmony, I have here a very simple walk cycle of Frank. So as you can see, he's just walking forward. Right? So gusto ko siyang lagyan ng background to interact with. Okay. Check ko lang kung nag-record pa ako. Okay, good. So to import that, all you need to do is just go to File, Import, then Images. A PSD file is still an image file. So image pa rin siya. So Images. Then from here, just look for the PSD file that you have created. I-load nyo siya. Ayan siya, mabasa yan. So in layering, first, you need to select create layers based on file names. Para yung layers na gagawin niya, properly named. Okay? Next, import options. We don't want any compression when importing the background. Kaya, always choose the first one. Keep as original bitmap. Para high quality lahat. Color space will be left as default. Alignment to fit. Transparency set to straight. Okay? So, straight. Click OK. So, since multi-layered ang PSD file natin, lalabas tong dialog box na to. In the create option, you have to remember this. So, in create options, choose individual layers. para babasahin or paghihiwa-hiwalayin yung mga individual layers. Hindi siya i-import as flat. Okay? Same thing, transparency will be set to straight. Click OK and wait for it to load. Ayan na siya. So as you can see, hiwa-hiwalay yung mga layers. Okay, so let me just fix this quickly. So kung paano tayo nag-rig dati, same thing, we have to organize it. So I'm going to create a peg for each one of them and create a master peg for the entire thing. Ganun ka simple. Then, simply group it, and that would be the group of the background. Let's call this BG. Okay? Okay, so as you can see here in our scene, the background is not big enough to cover the entire shot. So, lalakihan ko lang siya. So, para hindi na tayo magkaroon ng keyframe, I'm just going to turn off yung animate button. So, animate off ko lang. Itong running man na to. So, animate off. When that button is turned off, yung mga changes natin would be consistent all throughout the scene. Okay, so walang keyframe mo na magagawa. There you go. Okay. Next. So what else can we do here? So let's say we have a camera work or a camera shot. Lagay tayo ng camera. Okay, so naglagay lang ako ng camera node. I press enter and search for camera. So from here, lalagyan ko lang siya ng peg so that I can animate it. So let's try to create a very simple camera animation. So let's say, yeah. Select natin yung bounding box. So as you can see, move natin yan. So let's see from there, sa very last shot, I want it to go wide. Then nakatingin dito. Then I'm going to interpolate it. Control K and simply interpolate. Okay? So what do you notice with the background? It looks flat, right? Mukhang flat yung background, di ba? Tama ba? So the reason why it is flat is because we don't have multiplane or parallax. So, dito sa Harmony, madali lang mag-setup ng multiplane. So all you need to do is first to make sure that your background is separated. And then, I am now going to open the so-called top view. Hanapin nyo lang yung top view nyo. So, punta lang kayo sa any panel, click the plus button, and look for top. So, this how the top view will look like. Ayan siya. So, as you can see here, we have here this inverted triangle. So, this inverted triangle is the field of view of the camera. So, lahat ng nasa loob ng triangle na yan, siya yung nakikita natin sa eksena. Okay? So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create distance from each element based on their position. So for example, I want the foreground to be near the camera. So by the way, when doing this, i-turn off din natin yung animate button so we do not create any keyframe. And the change would be consistent all throughout the scene. Okay. So pakita ko lang muna. So let's say yung sky. So if I'm going to move it right away, so let's say I'm going to translate it backwards, what do you notice? Ano yan sa camera? Lumiliit, di ba? Kasi yun yung natural na mangyayari when you make things away or when you push things away from the camera. Liliit siya. As much as possible, we don't want that. Kasi magiging off-model tayo in terms of background. So instead of manually moving it or moving it using translate, I'm going to use a tool called maintain size. Okay? Ano bang ginagawa ng maintain size? So with the maintain size, as you move the background away or near the camera, it compensates the size. So habang lumalayo, as you can see, pinapalakihan niya. That way, in your camera, it will still look the same. Okay? So another thing that I want to show you here is the 3D view. Teka, pakita ko sa inyo. So I'm going to turn perspective. So in your scene, ito yung itsura niya.
Cannot read from here.
Yan. Okay? So that's one good thing about Harmony. Itong software na to, yes, two-dimensional siya, but we are actually using three-dimensional space. Ayan. So as you can see, very flat. So ang goal natin, paghiwa-hiwalayin yung mga elements to create multiplane. Okay, subukan natin. So I'm gonna get the sky. Ilalayo ko. Then yung cloud, layo ko din. Yung trees, same thing. Then yung stone, sige, layo din natin. Then yung foreground, ilalapit ko naman sa camera. Okay. So nilagyan ko lang ng distance between the elements of the background. So let's see what will happen kapag ginawa ko yon. So in my perspective view, magiging multiplane na siya. You get the idea? So hiwa-hiwalay na siya. But in camera, it will still look the same. So ano magiging effect nun? So when we create distance or when we create space between layers or elements, magkakaroon tayo ng so-called parallax. So look what will happen if I try to move this. Look at the movement between each element. May konting discrepancy dito, pero we can actually fix that. Lakihan ko lang din siya. There. See? So with this parallax, we can create an illusion that there is depth in our backgrounds or in our scene. Diba? Okay, so ano pang pwede natin gawin dito? Actually, itong dinidiscuss ko sa inyo is actually part of compositing, which you're going to be taking next term under me again. Yeah, so we are compositing the scene. Okay? Ano ba pwedeng gawin natin dito? So for example, I want to explore the depth more. So usually when we have a camera, itong background nito will be out of focus, right? Kasi right now, if everything is in focus, maggagala yung mata ng audience natin. So as much as possible, we try to guide the eyes of the audience to our subject. Right? So ang gagawin ko, I want to blur out this background elements. Subukan natin. So I'm going to go to my background. So I'm going to look for those elements that I need to blur. Ayan siya. Itong tatlo, trees, clouds, sky, I'm going to put them in one composite. Ayan. So nasa isang composite na yung mga layers na yon. So all I need to do now is just to put a blur node. Press enter, look for blur radial. All you need to do is just to plug it in. I-check natin sa render view. So right now, wala pang nangyayari, right? So taasan natin ngayon yung radius niya. Let's try a value of, let's say, 0.2 first. Check natin kung may kita. Masyado maliit. Taasan natin, 0.5. Kulang pa. Sub 1. Ilang? 5. Oops, sobra. There. So as you can see, there is that. Okay? There. So I'm going to do the same thing with the foreground element. Yung foreground natin, lalagyan ko din ng blur yan. There. And yung ano yan? This one. Lalagyan ko ng kung blur pero hindi ganun kalakas. Tignan natin ang magiging effect niya. Okay, so as you can see here, there. So we are now simulating the depth. So what else can we do? So let's try to mask the character inside the tent. Gusto ko mangyayari, lumalabas siya sa tent. So right now, hindi ko muna i-discuss yung lighting kasi sa composting pa natin siya i-discuss kasi medyo complex yung magiging load setup nun. Pero for now, I'm going to show you how to mask this. So for masking, it's basically just an application of cutter. By the way, naglagay din ako ng puddle shadow dito. Ayun siya. The shadow. And there's actually a shadow node that you can use. It's actually automatic. Yan, shadow node. Plug and play lang yan. Magiging shadow na siya. Okay? Okay, so now I'm going to try to mask this. Okay, composite ko muna yung dalawa. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a cutter. Okay, cutter. And then, I'm going to create a matte to basically trace this part. So, kumbaga itatago ko lang siya. So, Control R. Let's call it mask. Then, i-trace na natin. I'm just going to use a polyline tool. Babaan ko na lang yung size. Yeah. So, i-trace ko lang. So, para lang ako nag-pen tool dito. Siya. You just have to make sure na yung mask mo hanggang sa dulo, nandun pa rin. So, extend exposure, and ito na mangyayari. Okay? Okay, double check lang natin kasi magkakaroon ng konting issues yan dito. As you can see, hindi masyadong malinis yung pagkakamask. So, linisin lang natin. There you go. So So if I play it, it will look like this. Get idea? Okay, so let me create a quick render para makita natin yung final output. There you go. Let's play it. Ayun siya. Okay, so as you can see, with the use of very simple compositing, we were able to make the elements work together. Okay? Yun na naman mahalaga doon. Kailangan mag-work together yung mga elements natin in a scene. And don't worry, I'm actually recording this and I will be uploading it in Neo para may guide kayo. Any questions? Guys?